Okay, so we're continuing our journey on the competition between Joseph and Judah. Who was chosen? Who was chosen? The book of Genesis climaxes with the hero of the story being Joseph. Not Jacob, not Abraham, not Isaac. Joseph was the hero in the end of the book of Genesis. He had a dream that he was going to be king over his brothers, and that dream came true. We can conclude, therefore, he was a prophet. He was in communication with God. And we see the same thing with the dream interpretations when he was in jail with Pharaoh and the butcher and the butler. He was interpreting dreams through God. God was helping him. He couldn't do it by himself, obviously. So he was a prophet. Just like Jacob was a prophet, Isaac was a prophet, Abraham was a prophet, meaning God spoke with them, right? Joseph was the next prophet in line. The Torah takes a magnifying glass and it focuses on particular families throughout history. Adam, Seth, Noah, Shem, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. That's where the magnifying glass goes after Jacob. Okay? So Joseph was the hero. He saved them from the famine. He saved Egypt as well. And he was clearly a prophet. He made a prediction that he would be king over his brothers. And technically, he was the first king of the nation of Israel, when you think about it. He was the first king. So that's point number one. Point number two, Jacob, before he dies, he gives his blessing to all of his children. However, that's in Genesis 49. In Genesis 48, he gives a special blessing to Ephraim and Manasseh, making them part of the 12 tribes, making the tribes into 13. This is very significant because it teaches us that there was something special about the tribe of Joseph, more so than the other tribes. And it makes sense with the story. So yes, the land of Israel was promised to all the tribes of Israel. However, the kingship and the ruler was given to the prophet of those children, and that came from the tribe of Joseph. And Joseph was the first prophet of the nation of Israel and the first leader. He was number 2 in Egypt. He was the first king. Beautiful. Now, Judah, on the other hand, married a Canaanite woman, and then his son, 2 of his sons died, and the third one was supposed to marry the woman who was left a widow. And in the end, Judah went to a prostitute who happened to be his daughter-in-law and had children through her. So this is obviously far away from the laws of the Torah. We can conclude that not only because of the kidnapping of Joseph were all the tribes punished in Egypt for 400 years, but Judah was certainly not a righteous man. I mean, he may have been sorry by the end of his life, but he certainly was not a righteous man like Joseph. So let's continue. Let's continue. It's true that in the 40 years in the desert, only Joshua son of Nun and Caleb survived the 40 years, and Hebron was given to Caleb, which was a very significant place, the city of Tzfat. However, Joshua was the king from the tribe of Ephraim. Joshua was the next leader after Moses. He was technically the first king in the land of Israel. You could argue that, yes, Moses was the first king of Israel, technically. However, it was outside the land of Israel mainly. And Joshua was the first king in the land of Israel from the tribe of Ephraim, which means from the tribe of Joseph. So that's another good point for the tribe of Joseph. And let's not get sidetracked because I want to cover all these important points. Let's talk about the prophecy to the tribe of Judah, Genesis 49, verse 10. The scepter shall not depart from Judah until Shiloh comes, and then it shall depart. What does this mean? What does this mean? The scepter and the ruling staff, the kingship, the lawgiver, the one who decides what's right, what's wrong. It has been in the hands of Judah since the time of King David, without a doubt. Throughout history, it has been in the hands of King David. But Shiloh, the place, by the way, Shiloh refers to the place, has not been re-established since the time of King David. Therefore, the prophecy hasn't come true yet. But when Shiloh is re-established as the Garden of Eden, the scepter and the kingship shall depart from the tribe of Judah. Why is this important? Because it proves wrong Christianity. Because if Jesus was from the tribe of Judah, and that's why they think he's the Messiah, then clearly he cannot be the Messiah, because the prophecy speaks about a Messiah from another tribe. It doesn't say specifically which tribe, but with the knowledge we have from Genesis about Joseph and Joshua son of Nun being the first king, it's pretty obvious it was Joshua who established Shiloh in the land of Ephraim by a king of Ephraim. In other words, the Garden of Eden was given to Ephraim. Now, all of the evidence I presented until now is enough to prove Judah wrong. However, we're going to go even deeper. And this is really the biggest point from all the points I've brought up so far. How long were we in the land of Egypt for? Exodus 12 or 13. It's 12 or 13. It clearly says the time that the children of Israel were living in the land of Egypt was 430 years. This is a massive problem. It's brought a lot of debates in history, and the reason is because if you go to Levi, if you go to the bloodline of Levi in Exodus chapter 6, and you count up the ages, because Levi came down to Egypt with his 3 sons, so let's assume that his Kohat, the great-grandfather of Moses, was 1 year old. Let's do the minimum. Let's say he was 1 year old, plus 137 years, plus 133 years, plus 80 years for Moses. Maximum time they could have been in Egypt was 350 years. And it's very unlikely, because it's unlikely the father had the son in the last year of his life. It's just not reasonable. So it was probably even less than 350 realistically. Now, it's a Jewish tradition that it's actually 210 years, and that we start the count at Isaac, and for this reason it's a big contradiction with what the text actually says, because the text says 430 years, children of Israel. So you can't start the count with Isaac, so the Jewish interpretation is actually wrong. There is a conclusion that solves this dilemma, and people don't like it, but it's the only thing that makes sense. If the Torah is not lying, and I don't believe it's lying, that we were in Egypt for 430 years, and the line of Levi doesn't add up to 430 years, we can only conclude one thing. The chosen tribe of Levi for the holiest part of the temple and the priestlyhood did not come from Levi, son of Jacob. There was a man called Levi from a different tribe, and he had 3 sons, and he named them after the sons of Levi. This is called the brothers Judy in the Torah. That when a man dies without having sons, the brother has to marry and name the sons after the father who died. That's the law. So my theory is, a man from Ephraim called Levi married the 3 wives, or maybe 1 wife, and he had 3 children. Doesn't matter at this point. And so the tribe of Levi is essentially a tribe in the tribe of Ephraim. Okay? Just like you have tribes within tribes, in Judah you have Shelach, etc., Zerach, so too in the tribe of Ephraim, you have different segments within that tribe. And one of those segments was Levi, the chosen part of Ephraim and the chosen part of Joseph. Now, Moses is from the tribe of Levi, and Joshua son of Nun is from the tribe of Ephraim. What's the connection? Why was Joshua chosen after Moses? Why didn't Moses choose one of his own sons to rule after him? And this is the biggest secret of the Torah. Pharaoh's daughter named Moses Moses. What did his mother name him? The 3 months before she sent him into the Egyptian river. And the answer is Nun. Nun is the name of Moses, the real name. And that's why he's called Joshua son of Nun. And Moses had two boys, Eliezer and Gershom. Eliezer was his name when he was a baby, and it was changed to Hoshea, which means savior, literally means savior. And eventually it was changed to Joshua. So that's the secret.